Hello there and welcome back. And what a great day it's been. What a great lineup of guests we have here. Resham is joining me right now, and Resham, well done. I mean, it was a busy day for both of us, but I just want to start, if I might. It's great to see you and great to have this chat. Always, I enjoy this part of it. But your last speaker, Dr. Guy Standing, I mean, how interesting was he in terms of his perception and his very open and liberal thinking about what needs to be done, so I really enjoyed that.
And it's great to hear from someone who's so passionate about his life's work. I mean, he said he's been working on universal basic income for over 30 years. And I, really admire that level of dedication and commitment to something he clearly feels so strongly about. He says he's spoken at Davos 3 years running about the arguments for universal basic income, has done trials in Africa, India, Europe, with these incredible results where, they've seen impacts from a very low level of basic income. He told us about his trial in Madhya Pradesh, where the level of universal basic income was about 40% the rate of subsistence, so very, very low, and they saw impacts on health, nutrition, schooling, education, employment, crime falling, stress falling, so some really significant impacts with a very low level of income. But as you say, it's very progressive, very liberal, and he talked about the fact that there are kind of opponents on the right and the left, so it's not necessarily an idea that's agreed with by one side of the political spectrum and disagreed with the other. It's kind of, it's got its widespread concerns about the implementation, the costs, the impacts on people's motivation to work. But I would definitely recommend people check it out, because whether you're for it or against it, there's a lot in there that tackles some of these preconceived notions about how it actually works and what it could lead to.
No, absolutely. And I think I was fascinated just the way, they put it in perspective in terms of the pandemic, because governments literally gave money away and they, provided this income to so many people, which in turn helped to keep the economy going. So ultimately, if people actually have an income, they're going to keep the economy going, and that domino effect can move around, even a small village that can actually help build a sense of entrepreneurship. And it was fascinating to listen to him. I haven't heard anybody like that. So I must have a look at his book. He sounds really, really interesting.
Definitely. There's also a video if you prefer to learn by watching. But what I thought was really interesting was the contrast, because, I interviewed Sonia from VentureSouk, one of the founders of that venture capital fund, and they have a huge focus on conscious investing and impact investments. And actually, they've set up a fellowship. So they had 30 people coming onto that from government, private sector, public sector, to try and kind of educate them about the value of conscious investing, and that it doesn't have to be that you are only investing for not-for-profit if you're trying to do good and have a positive impact on the world, that actually you can align objectives so that we are taking serious money from the private sector and investing that into startups that are going to make change for the better. And I think it's so interesting that that both those speakers, Sonia and Guy, are coming at tackling some of the biggest economic and global issues through very different routes, one through venture capitalism, one through UBI, but actually both in their own ways making moves to create significant impact for some of the lowest paid and most vulnerable people in the world, which I just thought was that juxtaposition of approaches was so fascinating.
Yes, indeed. Sonia had so much great detail for us there in terms of what needed to be done. And also when I had spoken with Nadine Messer as well, I mean, also really looking at making investment more accessible and making it more inclusive, and again, bringing that level of investment down whereby a lot more people can get involved in the process, because very often I think people look at that and it's a much bigger focus and probably sometimes way too complicated. So it is really, I think, about all the good that without a doubt can be done out of this, but also the practical day-to-day ideas that you can invest a small amount, learn about it, and become an investor. So I think this is all in the educational process so very important.
And I like that you just mentioned your approach day-to-day things, because I spoke to William Heineke from the Miner Group, and he actually said that on a day-to-day basis, they try to encourage managers to be entrepreneurial. They try to encourage all their staff. They've got around 80 to 85,000 employees worldwide. They try and encourage them to think about the environment, to think about sustainability, to think about entrepreneurship and how that ties into solutions. And I just thought that was really great that even in a significant corporate like that you're still being encouraged to think entrepreneurially, but also to think about the world around us. And he said that on everybody's birthday, he encourages them to take that day to go and do community service. And on his birthday every year, all 80,000 plus employees are asked to go and do a day of community service instead of coming to work. And it just shows that, you know, there are so many different ways to make a difference for the better, to help your community, to serve those in society who need support, that there's no one right way to do it, that you can make a difference in the way that best suits you.
And I think when we look at companies that have, you know, thousands of people working for them, and we heard the same from Colin McLaughlin very much from Dubai Duty Free, you know, and I think he could genuinely see how upset he was that, you know, he had to let so many people go because of the downturn here, but the fact they held on to thousands. And I think he was also very proud of the fact that, you know, they all wanted to make sure that they all pitched in together. And, you know, interesting how he talked about this very flat managerial process. And I know we've heard back time and time again from people who work there that, you know, he's a great sort of CEO in that sense, for walking the floor and being down there with everybody and knowing lots of people's names and, you know, making sure there's a flat structure and the team spirit. And for him, he's just one of the team. So, and also the great CSR projects they've got in place too. So all of this important for community building, giving back to the community, but being able to run successful businesses at the same time. There was a lovely theme, I think, of that coming through.
And I did catch that session, and I thought what I really liked is it's so easy, isn't it, to malign CEOs or C-suite executives or people managing large corporates into thinking that they see their staff as, you know, separate entities to the organization. Whereas actually what we've heard both in your session and my session is that successful companies are the ones that treat their staff as, you know, kind of living, breathing part of the organization that is their biggest strength. And yes, organizations have had to make some really difficult decisions around their human capital and their teams, but that actually they don't do that without really thinking through how they can support their staff as best they can with mental health, but also with restructuring to try and keep as many of them on as they can.
No, yes, indeed. I was just fascinated too with our opening speaker today too. We were, as always, delighted to have Her Excellency Sarah Al-Amiri, and you know, looking at the great work that she's done in terms of her role as the, you know, the kind of the leader very much in the space program here in the UAE. I mean, how exciting was that? And, you know, driven by a woman as well. It also just shows bringing into, you know, the advanced technology side. And she's Minister also of Advanced Technology here. But the drive that she has, and as she said, the need for this region, you know, the UAE, like anywhere else, to sort of up their game in terms of industry and advanced, you know, technology, what it will mean to the growth in the country. Absolutely fascinating. But and I loved her spirit and energy as well.
Definitely. Lots of amazing sessions for people to go back and check out later if they didn't get to catch them all today.
As always, yes, we have everything on demand, and you can have a look at that at any time. Once again, thank you so much, Resham. A great input there, and I love doing these sessions with you. It's always great to see you. I want to thank all of our sponsors here, particularly thank you, the Anditya Birla Group. Thank you for staying with us. To all of our team, of course, all of our production team, pulling all of this together, keeping us on the air. A big thanks, and of course to our dear audience from all over the world. It's great to have everybody on board, and it's so lovely to be able to bring you this once a month and really make sure that you're engaged with ABLF. So once again, as Resham said, check everything out online there and make sure that you can go back and look at all the other sessions. So that's it for me, Resham.
See you all in June.
Indeed, that's from you too. All right, take care. We'll be back in June. From all of us at ABLF, thank you so much for being with us.